Men are good, as are you. Indeed, and today we're going to talk about engineered fatherlessness creates chaos. Let me say that again. Engineered fatherlessness creates chaos, and that's exactly what we're seeing now, and we're seeing a lot of it. And we'll be talking more and more. This will be part one of probably a two-part series, but today we're going to talk about the beginnings of things. Let me take you back to 1965. In 1965, Moynihan wrote this report. He did it on his own, and he sent it to Lyndon Johnson, and Johnson was quasi-impressed, though he never acted on it. But what did the report say? The report said that the problem in the inner city with blacks did not have to do so much with socioeconomic trouble. It had to do with fatherlessness. They knew then, 1965, that the thing that was causing the trouble was not having dads in the home. Think about it. They knew it then. What did they do? Oh, welfare. What did welfare need? It needed the fathers not to be in the home in order for the mommies to get money. So you see what I'm talking about when I say engineered fatherlessness? We've engineered this from the get-go. Anyway, Moynihan was just the beginning. And as we go along, think back to the 1980s, the late 1980s, Murphy Brown. Ever heard of Murphy Brown before? Some of you young guys probably never have, but Murphy Brown was a TV series about a successful woman who'd done this and done that and was able to do this and was, capable. And of course, she had a bunch of men around her who were not very impressive. And of course, Murphy Brown was a spinoff from, I think, the first series that did this whole idea of powerful, successful woman surrounded by men who are not so hot was the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And people have told me that that's the case. People from my Patreon site told me, and they know what's going on. Anyway, if you think about it, Mary Tyler Moore Show was what? It was this woman who was successful and happy and did this and did that on her own, no men, and the men around her were usually not very impressive. Anyway, so that flowed over into old Murphy Brown, and Murphy Brown did a couple of things. One of the things that she did, I guess it was in 91 or 92, during this successful series, was she decided to have a baby and not have a father involved. Okay, and who made a comment about that? Our vice president at the time, named Dan Quayle, made a comment. Let's hear what Dan has to say about Murphy.
Doesn't help matters when primetime TV has Murphy Brown, a character who supposedly epitomizes today's intelligent, highly paid professional woman, mocking the importance of fathers by bearing a child alone and calling it just another lifestyle choice.
Yes, mocking the importance of fathers by having a child alone and calling it a lifestyle choice. I think Dan was right. But guess what happened to Dan? People tore him up. Now, Dan had made a number of faux pas before that, and it was pretty much, he was kind of a joke in some ways. But I think in this case, he had it right. He and Moynihan had it right. And what happened when you get it right? Oh, you get called all kinds of names, which he did. But the Daily News says, "Quail to Murphy Brown, you tramp." In other words, he's hurting these women. He's hurting the women. Gynocentrism. He's hurting the women. He's not telling the truth. They ignore completely the idea that fatherlessness is at the root of all this stuff. Oh boy, poor old Dan. Yeah, that was a mess. And it gets worse, as you've seen since then. It just gets worse because we're ignoring what? We're ignoring Moynihan and we're ignoring someone else. Guess what? Maybe Dan Quayle read this research, which came out, I think, in 1988. And the research says really clearly, what do we need in the homes? If you want a safe neighborhood, we need fathers. They studied 57 neighborhoods. This is 1988. They studied 57 neighborhoods. Douglas Smith and Roger Jajura, I suppose his name is pronounced. They studied 57 neighborhoods, and all of them they found the same thing. If dads are not present, the violent crime goes up. If dads are not present, the violent crime goes up. What an idea. What a concept. Now here's the deal. They found that this was the case no matter what the socioeconomic status was. If there was a very poor neighborhood and they had fathers, crime was not so much. If it was a very poor neighborhood that didn't have fathers, violent crime was up. Same thing for race. In black neighborhoods, when there were fathers there, less crime, less violent crime. In black neighborhoods, when fathers were not there, more violent crime. In white neighborhoods or Hispanic neighborhoods, when no fathers were present, more violent crime. And when they were present, less violent crime. So Dan got it right, as did Moynihan, as did a number of other people. They realized that fathers were essential. Men are good and fathers are essential. Indeed. But somehow no one wanted to hear this, because what happened? The feminists pushed the opposite idea. The feminists pushed, well, you didn't realize that women had to try and get into the workplace in order to make their own money and blah, 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 blah. And they basically ignored the need and the beauty of fathers. We know now how important fathers are for all kinds of things we never knew before. Empathy. Fathers are critical for empathy. Fathers are critical for all kinds of factors. I think there's like 23 factors that Warren Farrell has set out. Maybe it's more, I forget exactly. But all these factors that are connected to fatherlessness. If we would just focus on fatherlessness, I think we could start making some changes. Slowly, but we could start making some changes. Larry Elder, I was so sad he wasn't elected as governor of California, because he knows about fatherlessness. He's pushing it, one of the few out there that are really pushing this idea. Well, then fast forward to, I think it's 2013, and the wonderful research of McClanahan. And it's just fascinating stuff. And look at the title here. The causal effects of father absence. The causal effects of father absence. Never have I heard any kind of psychological research where they talk about cause. It's always, well, this is correlated with this, and this is correlated with that. Yeah, she's talking about some areas of fatherlessness are actually caused by the father not being there. Wow. That's a huge step ahead for us. And look at what's happened. The research over the years has told us over and over and over again that fatherlessness is at the root of our trouble. And what do? We ignore it, and we listen to feminists, and we listen to our gynocentric crap that has basically saturated our culture in thinking women are wonderful and men are shit. Come on. How crazy is that nonsense? It's pretty crazy, right? Look at this chart. It shows the black family in 1940 was less than 20% fatherless. But now in 2014, 70% fatherless. White families were negligible as far as fatherlessness back in 1940. But now it's what? It's 30% for white families. And I think it's, 50% for Hispanics? Something like that. But look at those, look at the lines. They go up and up and up. We're getting worse and worse. It's almost like we've planned this to happen. It's almost like it's engineered fatherlessness in order to tear things apart. Well, even if it wasn't engineered, they've definitely done a good job of creating less fathers around. And the problems just simply keep going up if you have less fathers around. And maybe that's it for today. Part 2 is going to be, we're going to go into, okay, what caused this whole mess? What caused fathers to not be in the home? We'll start with we'll see where we start. Anyway, keep in mind, men are good, fathers are essential, and you are essential as a father and good as a man. We'll see you then. Men are good.